If you really want to restore your original hair aesthetic, aim for the pocket and focus on striking out plaque. I am AQBS and this is Back to the Barber. Jason Belmonte, now called the Michael Jordan or Tiger Woods of bowling, didn't start off that way. He, like many of us, had to climb his way to the top, match after match, victory after victory. His advantage was that he started quite early, so early that he could not even throw the heavy bowling ball with one hand at the bowling alley that his parents owned, so he used two hands. He was questioned about his need to use both hands to bowl. But not only did he trust and embrace this unique approach, over time it was perfected to the absolute monster of a technique, winning 15 PBA titles under his belt. Although it started out as a necessity, little did he know this radical shift from one-hand bowling to a two-handed technique would one day make him a world-famous champion many times over. This one-hand approach, it works. It's traditional, accepted as the norm, it's taught far and wide, and because of that, any other throwing technique was frowned upon, like the two-hand throw. Even today, many still consider it cheating. Others think that it should be banned because it can be seen as an advantage over the more traditional players. Likewise, in hair loss, you can say that focusing on DHT inhibiting is like the traditional one-hand bowling method, and all other hair loss mitigation efforts are like the two-hand approach. The difference is, at least in the two-hand approach in bowling, the scoring is counted. In natty hair loss, you can get a perfect 300 and they say it's no evidence that you actually even knock the pins down. Besides the blatant disregard for other therapeutics, DHT inhibiting is limited to only halting the progression of hair loss. With it, you feel pretty good that you would keep the hair that you have, at least for a few more years, but that's the pinnacle. It gets no better than that. It's like bowling and the best that you would ever do is to rack up spares or hit the channel. Not that one, but this one. Just as Jason also called Belmo broke free of the one-hand throw in bowling to literally become the best in the world, you would have to break the tradition and switch your focus to breaking the bald or cracking the plaque dome if you want your original hairline back, pre-hair loss. In this video, we're going to deep dive into a relatively unknown concept of hair loss restoration, the expungement of scalp plaque and adhesion glue to initiate the pre-anagen phase of hair regrowth. In the previous video, hair loss is an inside job, I also mentioned how we need to break the ball in order to begin the restoration process. Check it out when you have a chance. This was something that I discovered in real time, but it took almost 2 years of restoration efforts to recognize and understand it enough to quantify it. Let me get my shoes ready. I'm up first. See, the bald areas of your scalp where your hair used to grow, yes, the crown, even the frontal hairline, can be thought of as being under quarantine. Reversing my hair loss of over a decade has allowed me to watch, painstakingly I must admit, the pattern in which hair is regrowing. Let me first introduce you to another unknown hair loss concept until now. There are actually 5 types of terminal regrowth hairs that I will go over in depth in another video, but they are the following. Super responder. These are the 0.01% of one-off hairs that break through first. They are the outliers and seem to have never really went dormant. Early adopters. These are the 10 to 15% of hairs that will appear first in masses, but they will grow in reverse of the male pattern balding hair loss. Mass population. This is the large mass of hairs that make up the majority aesthetics. The 70% of hairs that will begin the transition to terminal from villus after the early adopters are well established. Late adopters, as the name suggests, these are the 15% of hairs that are the opposite of the early adopters. The most telling phenomenon about this type of hair regrowth is that they can be relegated to specific areas of the scalp, such as the frontal hairline, the crown, and the occiput ganglia line in the rear. And finally, number 5, non-responsive. These are the percentage hairs that will never erupt from the scalp, or villus hairs that won't ever transition to terminal, no matter what you do or take. This brings us to our topic of discussion, breaking the ball and lifting the scalp quarantine so that you can see these hairs erupt. You probably can't think of a harder ball besides a cannonball than a bowling ball. Not only is it hard like a giant marble, but it's heavy, shiny, and smooth. I challenge you with a thought experiment. If I asked you to grow vegetation on a bowling ball, how would you do so? I will give you a few moments on that. Many of you would consider it impossible to grow vegetation on a bowling ball, and you will be right. The closest that you can come to that is somehow packing wet soil on top of the bowling ball, but the roots will never be strong enough to dig into the hard surface. The vegetation will grow on the surface of the bowling ball, but technically never within. How would the roots get water? When the soil dries, what would happen? How stable would the environment be? Can the bowling ball support the plants via minerals and vitamins? No. This bowling ball analogy is the perfect representation of what is occurring in hair loss. Due to acute and chronic inflammation, the body, including the scalp, seems to convert testosterone to DHT in order to assist with the problem. The body also uses cholesterol, which test is made from, to cover the inflamed areas. My overall theory is gut bacteria and pathogens somehow navigated to the scalp and have replaced the native biome and threw everything else out of balance. The body tries to protect itself by overproducing steroids, aka DHT, overgrowing scalp layers, and overstrengthening skin tissue that then becomes fibrosis. The arteries and vessels also become hardened and stiffened in what we call calcification. Just as plaque on enamel is the combination of sugars, bacterial waste, inflammatory cells, and biofilm, so is the plaque on the scalp. We just call scalp plaque psoriasis. In the vegetation analogy, it was obvious that the vegetation growth would not be sustainable on the bowling ball. What is not as obvious is all of the mechanical physical changes that occur in men's hair loss basically turns an omega scalp to a hardened prostate dominated scalp. This brings us to another concept that I've long discovered in hair loss, the alpha and omega scalp spectrum theory, and it's the following. You can view hair health and growth normalcy on a scale. Here's a picture of my original idea in one of my past notebooks. Now here's an easier version on the eyes. On one side of the scale is the Norwood with -7 being the worst that you can be. That would be a Norwood 7 in the hair loss state. On the opposite end of the line, in the area I call Darwin, just Norwood backwards, the best hair that you can have is a +7. This is the types of people, mostly women, with thick lush hair growing down their backs. The wig industry targets these types. In the very middle you have a 0. Most men that you know will be a negative N1 or N2. That is Norwood 1 or 2. Most women that you know will be a Doran, particularly D1 or D2. As scalp conditions worsen for both men and women, they will move to the left on the scale. As conditions become better, we will naturally move to the right. If you haven't noticed, you want to move from a prostate-dominated alpha scalp to the uterine-dominated omega scalp in order to halt hair loss and especially restore it. Every medicine, tool, invention, surgery, therapeutic is attempting to replicate omega conditions. Every woman's hair product is meant, or at least advertises, to take her from a Darwin 1 and 2 to 3 and 4. And every man's hair loss therapeutic is attempting to keep him in Norwood 1 or 2. Does that make sense? Men that have absolutely beautiful hair has more than likely moved towards the 0 or into the Doran scale. Now there are some stark differences between the characteristics of alpha scalps and omega scalps. The omega scalp is supple, it's not flat, it's malleable, it's not tense, it's DHT minimal, nutrient and oxygen dense, aka no circulation or calcification issues. Estrogenic in nature. The prostate scalp is the opposite. It will be hardened. A flat scalp, aka a scalp fat dissolve, DHT ridden, circulation issues and some level of calcification and fibrosis. Prostate dominant and uterine suppressed. If follicles are feminine and need an environment that's capable of supporting healthy terminal hair birthing and nurturing, which scalp is likely to provide that? Correct. Uterine based, aka the omega. Which scalp more resembles a bowling ball? You guessed it, the alpha or prostate dominated. And as that analogy alluded to, bowling balls cannot grow vegetation. Strike. This theory or understanding is what led me to believe that reversing the deteriorating conditions of the scalp could technically move me on the scale to the right. Luckily, this insight or aha moment came early in my hair loss restoration journey, so I did not waste much time implementing a strategy for it. Fast forward as months and months go by, I soon came to the conclusion of how the quarantine fits within the alpha and omega theory. Now let's pull all of this together. The trigger causes you to go from N1 and slide to the left on the scale as conditions get worse. In order to reverse this regression, you would have to find a way to promote the opposite of the conditions, but there is one major problem stopping you from doing so: the plaque buildup within the scalp layers and the arteries and vessels, including the dermal papilla. Like all stories, there are some good and some great moments, and there's some bad or challenging times. Jason Belmonte had an absolute amazing rookie start in 2008 and 2009, winning the Long Island Classic, but in 2009-2010, he did not win a tournament and was actually edged out by his competitor Zisik. In hair loss, embedded scalp plaque is also edging you out of winning your hairline back. There are so many data points that led me to this theory of scalp plaque, notwithstanding my own personal experiences, that I can't possibly cover all in this video. I touched on this in my first video, the Regrowth Threshold. I'm going to put up a few personal pictures to show you what I really mean by plaque buildup. If you are familiar with the plaque on teeth, you would know that the longer that it stays, the worse that the teeth become, the worse that the gum line becomes, and the worse overall mouth hygiene becomes. This is because plaque in itself is a holdout of toxins, bacteria, and its waste products. I am using salicylic acid and medicated shampoos as I treat my scalp as if I have an extreme case of psoriasis and dermatitis. I have also created a solution of warming herbs that I leave on my head overnight that seep into my skin and loosen the plaque, calcification, dry lipids. Please be advised of these photos. They are not for the faint of heart. My apologies in advance. You are not seeing dandruff. You are seeing sawed off dead skin as well as plaque that is erupting from my skin every 4 to 5 days, almost on a cycle. This plaque is heavily represented in the areas of my scalp that also seem to be tender, especially after a derma stamp session. Even after derma rolling, for days after, the areas that are sore have patches of huge pink and white rubbery flakes and glue-like substance that I can just peel or comb out. On a side note, when you derma roll and begin to break up calcification, you will literally hear and feel the crunching in your scalp as the pins break the once impenetrable calcium dome. And if you're questioning my scalp hygiene, I actually have to wash my hair once a day because the amount of products, experiments that I use and perform to regrow hair as I am natty. I am extremely clean scalp wise, so this is not dandruff. This is expunged plaque, and this is how you break the bald. Some other facts about this almost internal psoriasis or scalp plaque is its texture is just like teeth plaque, really no different. The longer that it stays, the harder that it is. However, you can still brush it off and floss it out, and it's not really a part of the teeth. It's just kind of sitting on top of there per se. It seems to be laying on top of the skin and at the same time within the dermis. When you do scalp peeling and exfoliation as well as derma stamp and roll, it would be hard to know the difference between them. Derma rolling causes the slow healing of scalp layers and the expunging of waste and plaque. Now you know the secondary reason or secret why hair transplants work: injury and expungement. But that's not all. Let me give you yet another lesser known gem. The less plaque that you have in your scalp, the less bleeding will happen in derma stamping. A plaque-filled alpha scalp is tough, and you have to really force the pins into the scalp, which causes bleeding and deep reddening. As you remove the extra layers, the flexible, malleable, supple skin has no issue taking the needles. It is much easier to derma stamp and derma roll in an omega scalp. Regardless, scalp layers and plaque must be removed in order to release the follicles out of the quarantine. You have to break the bald. Like a bowling ball, the combination of fibrosis, extra skin layers, and plaque in the environment leaves much to be desired for hair growth. The bowling ball, or the shiny, tough, hardened skin in male pattern balding, is not permanent, nor is it impenetrable. It just looks that way. You can remove the plaque, and when you do, something almost magical happens automatically. You will begin to see vellus hair sprouting and covering the once bare scalp skin like a blanket. As the plaque is removed, When rubbing your finger across the area, no longer will you feel skin, but Velcro. Baby hairs. When they appear, it's like getting into the groove in bowling. You literally can't miss. Earlier I mentioned the 5 types of hairs that will regrow as you move to the right on the scale from deep in Norwood. Another way of looking at this is meeting scalp conditions or trying to attain the regrowth threshold. The first hairs that will appear, the super responders, seem to grow in the plaque. They are extremely rare, and you can point these hairs out on men with severe balding or hair loss because all of their hair will be gone except a few strings. Those are the super responders, and they are so minimum in numbers that I don't really count them as far as aesthetically or signs of recovery. Now the early adopters are different. They will begin to turn from villous to terminal when the scalp conditions improve, not even dramatically, but just a bit. The mass population hairs need the most circulation and are the most plentiful type. Therefore, to have them go terminal, you will need to be near the regrowth threshold, which is almost plaque free. I am quickly approaching that. The late adopters and the non-responsive are the hairs that will be in the areas that you guessed it are the hardest to rid fibrosis and plaque from. The crown, frontal, and regalia ring. Plaque is like the noise, boos, and distractions that seem to get louder as you approach the bowling line. Cancel it out. You are now aware of what you need to do in hair loss. No longer are you locked to the one-hand approach. The main point that I want to make as we close is to be like Belmo. Change your stroke from a one-hand approach to a two-hand approach and rid the scalp of calcium crystallization, plaque, and adhesion glue, psoriasis, and lastly the overlaying of skin, also known as fibrosing. This is in line with my understanding and promoting that the mechanical, physical changes are what locks the follicles out of automated restarting of the hair growth cycle or the anagen stage. Plaque is the cause of the telogen coma of follicles. Removing it is like removing the fibroids from fallopian tubes or ovaries. The follicles can now carry. The bowling bald, aka alpha conditions, with the plaque buildup quarantines the follicles and makes it impossible to absorb topicals as well. The plaque in itself keeps DHT accumulated in the scalp as it is a holdout safe haven for toxins that cause inflammation. It also serves as a biofilm housing the very bacteria that cause the snowballing effect in the first place. Psoriasis is the gingivitis of the scalp. Focus on breaking the bald, and the bald is the plaque dome, with much of it concentrated around the gallia, which compresses the main scalp arteries, impeding blood flow. I can go on, but you get the drift. Speaking of drift, I need to work on my bowling leg work. Look, in all seriousness, life is just not about winning the game. It's about camaraderie, learning and improving, sharing and community. One of the other great things about Jason is his humble nature and sportsmanship. Yes, it's nice to bowl a 300. It's fantastic to hold the trophy, but it's even better to share the joy with others. Like, share, comment. Iron sharpens iron, and we only have each other. And remember, if I can do it, you all can do it too. Let's get you back to the barber.